All right, Brianna.
Hello.
Brianna, where are you from?
I'm from Missouri,
Which part?
near St. Louis.
Near St. Louis?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your family growing up.
I didn't have the best experience. My dad was kind of in and out of my life. He would, call and say he was coming to pick me up, and then I would be waiting on the doorstep, and he just, wouldn't show up. I can remember times where we would be driving and he got pulled over on the side of the road and taken to jail, and I was just sitting in the car. Things got a little better, I would say, after my mom married my stepdad. I was about 10 at the time, but I had a very strict upbringing, and I was actually raised like in a Southern Baptist church, so very, very strict.
I guess parts of Missouri are still the Bible Belt, right?
Yes.
And you graduated high school?
I did, yes.
Did you do any college?
Yes. I completed my bachelor's degree, and I have a master's degree in
What
education.
did you want to do?
I was a teacher.
You were a teacher?
Yes, for 5 years.
So tell me, your story is interesting, because I think there's a lot of women that are taken to OnlyFans now.
Very true.
For a variety of different reasons, but your reason is to me, one of the most compelling. Tell me what happened to you with your job.
So I was a high school English teacher for 5 years. My career was education. I didn't set out to be on OnlyFans, and one day my husband and I were kind of just joking around about starting one. We didn't take it too seriously, and then one day I just said, well, let's try it. Let's see what happens.
What were your reasons behind that? Was it cost of living, or
monetary was a big reason. I had high student loans. My husband was actually laid off from his job at the time, so we didn't have a lot of income coming in. So definitely motivated there. So we started the OnlyFans, and I did it for about 4 months. And
but you did it in a way where your face wasn't showing?
Correct. So I did not show my face. I did not use my real name. So I tried to stay in the shadows.
Yeah.
And then we started hearing rumors around like our small town. We live in a small town, that people had found my Twitter, recognized my husband's face somewhere. And so we talked, and I said, should I go to the school? I don't know what to do. I'm getting worried. And I actually planned on telling the school the very next day. But the day before I told them, they came in my room at the end of the school day. I had taught students all day long. I went to parent-teacher conferences the night before, met with parents, and then that next morning was the day that they came into my room and told me they were putting me on leave because they were getting reports.
Interesting. So you lost your job.
So they put me on leave. They said that they wanted to do an investigation. They asked questions about, did I use school time for this, or was there anything involved with the classroom, which I said no. They asked if I had an OnlyFans. They asked about my stream of income outside of school. And I was on leave, I think, for a week. And I decided to ultimately resign because at that time it had hit the media. And it was a lot. It was a lot at one time.
Mm-hmm. What's your view on the whole situation? Should you be allowed to do... You're basically doing porn.
Correct. So I've had several people ask me, well, what if your kid's teacher was doing this? And I don't think that if someone was trying to stay hidden, if they weren't involving students, if they weren't involving the school, I personally don't think that I would have a problem with it. I believe that people should be able to do what they want out in their spare time, outside of their 9 to 5. And I wasn't out to involve the school in any way. That was my personal private life.
Yeah, and you made an effort to keep your identity hidden.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
You feel like we're all just too uptight about sex?
I do think so. I think that people want to keep it taboo and they want to keep it hidden. And we just shouldn't talk about it. You can't do those things. But, I mean...
But we're all doing it.
We are all doing it.
And somebody saw your OnlyFans.
In some way, right. To get to that side of... It was Twitter, now it's X. It's not very easy to find that side. Someone already kind of has to... There's like a secret sex work side on X, I guess.
So somebody had to be searching for you.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. What were you making as a teacher?
As a teacher, I made around $42,000 a year.
$42,000.
Mm-hmm.
What are you making doing OnlyFans?
In about the last year, I've made a little over $2 million.
$2 million?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me just soak that in. Where do you think society is going to go if we're all, every female, I have 2 daughters, there's a world of half our population is female. What do you think we're all going to do?
I think
when you have the temptation of 2 million versus 42,000
mm-hmm.
or something close to it?
I used to do Google searches for my own name, and I was always really disturbed what I'd find. Seeing my personal information out there for anyone to grab, it's just uncomfortable. That's why I've started using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura not only shows me which data brokers are peddling my info, but also takes action by sending opt-out requests on my behalf. Data brokers are making a fortune by selling our personal information to anyone willing to pay for it. It's not just harmless information and marketing stuff. They're selling everything from your email, home address, to your health records, even details about your relatives. Cleaning up my digital footprint isn't just avoiding scam emails. It's about protecting myself from potential hackers who could exploit that information and wreak havoc on my life. From antivirus protection to VPN and password management, Aura's got it all covered. It's like having a digital security guard on duty 24/7. I'm too busy to deal with this stuff, but with Aura, I can go about my day knowing that my privacy is being safeguarded, leaving me free to focus on what really matters. So if you value your privacy as much as I do, go to aura.com/soft-white-underbelly to start your 14-day free trial. The link is in the video description box below. And now back to the video.
I think people are right now trying to survive and pay their bills. And what I'm doing is legal. It might be taboo to some people, but I personally don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong.
And the content you were putting up was with your husband?
With my husband. I do have things with others as well, but he's typically involved.
Yeah, it seems like the most interesting aspect of this story is the cost of living part of it. Because across the board, whether it's drug stories or prostitution stories or stories like yours, or just the poverty stories in some parts of the country, the cost of living is what's the biggest impact on people's lives.
Oh, we absolutely were struggling to get by. Like I said, he was laid off. I had student loans. We had a lot of credit card debt. We were just renting at the time. We didn't own our home. And I mean, now we've been able to pay everything off. So pay off our credit cards and my student loans. And I just bought a farm. So I'm excited about that. But it has really just changed the course of our lives.
And you're living in a small town. Are there repercussions for being this pariah in the community?
So there have been some. I'll go to Walmart, the grocery store, and people will stop me. Sometimes people will try to stop me with my kid, and I don't really. I just try to keep going, kind of ignore it. But there was, I think, a lot of judgment at first. We actually moved, not too far away, but far enough to where, like I said, we have a little farm and we have peace around us. So that's nice.
It's nice to have the space.
Yeah.
I had heard also there was another woman that was a teacher at your school.
Yeah, there was.
And she was doing the same thing.
So her name is Megan. And she's one of my best friends. And we became friends because we started working at the same school. We both taught English together. She was right down the hall from me. And we just became close friends. We were working closely together. Neither one of us knew that the other had an OnlyFans, because that's not something you would typically tell other teachers. You don't advertise that. We didn't talk about it. So how it came out, we were actually at a teacher's night, St. Louis Cardinals game, a baseball game, and just having fun. It was a girls' night. And someone joked and said, we should just start selling feet pics to make more money. And her and I kind of looked at each other and we were like, yeah, we should. And we did a double take and we're like, are you doing that? And she was like, are you doing that? And that's kind of when we told each other what we were doing secretly, like behind closed doors. But then eventually she was found on one of my pages and then got put on leave also.
So she lost her job as well.
So they couldn't fire her. They did not fire her. They just put her on leave actually for the entire year and basically paid her to stay at home. So they chose not to renew her contract, but they couldn't fire her.
Right.
Because technically we didn't violate our contract.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what women are going to make of this, because it's just such a temptation, I would think.
Yeah, it definitely can be. It's not easy. It's not, sometimes.
It's hard work, right?
Yeah, it is hard. It's still a 9 to 5, and it's even later than a 9 to 5, most days. There's a lot of work behind the scenes that goes into it.
What are the downsides of having an OnlyFans page that makes $2 million a year?
I do feel like I always have to be on my game and talking to people, fulfilling requests. And sometimes you just need to take that like mental health day or two, because you feel like you always have to be on top of things.
It's got to be hard. Basically, you're selling your ass to all these strangers. That's got to take a toll.
It does. Sometimes I'm like, was this a good idea? I have days where I question it, but I mean, for the most part, it has been good.
The money relieves a lot of stress.
Yeah, that's the main motivator. I mean, yeah. I've been able to change my life and my family's life, and in a way that I never would have been able to on $42,000 a year.
Do you miss the kids that you were?
I do really miss teaching. I definitely went through a grieving process at the beginning, just thinking, I'll never teach Shakespeare again. And that's something we were working on right before I got put on leave. And I really love Shakespeare and I love teaching it. But those moments where kids will come in and say, Mrs. Coppage, I got my driver's license, over the weekend, or they would be so happy to like share those life moments and their accomplishments with me. And I do miss that part. I do miss having that sort of purpose.
Our world has changed so much in the last 30, 40, 50 years. Mm-hmm. The cost of living has gotten so difficult for people. Technology has changed so much for better and for worse. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's a very interesting time in our history.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't look good for the next 20, 30 years.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the cost of living is just going up. The
relationships are going to be difficult for everybody.
Yeah.
Because every guy has access to all this stuff on the internet for free. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Why get into a relationship with somebody that might divorce them in 5 years and take half their money?
Yeah, I do. I do think it's important to have communication, like with your spouse. So when my husband and I got into this, we had agreed on like boundaries and what we were comfortable with. And I think having that communication with the partner that you're with is important. And I don't like lying. I don't like stuff like that. So I hope that the people that are doing those online things are being honest, but that might not always be the case.
Would you say you're happier now, or?
I think so.
Before you made this decision?
Yeah. Sometimes I miss having that purpose. So I actually went out and applied for like a regular 9 to 5. And I just said, like, I miss having to leave my house every day. Like, this was over the winter and my like mental health was suffering. It was always dark and gloomy outside, like seasonal depression stuff. And so I actually got hired with a company. And I think I made it 5 days. And they said, employees are reporting your social media presence. We're going to have to fire you. And so then I got fired again. Mm.
So now you're kind of locked into this.
So now, yeah.
This is your career.
This is my career.
Whether you like it or not.
Right.
And even if you did stop the OnlyFans, that content's probably still going to live on somewhere.
Right. Yeah, I'll never be able to get rid of all of it.
Yeah, it'll be following you forever.
Yeah.
And your kids are how old?
I have a 3-year-old.
A 3-year-old. Mm-hmm. So one day that'll come to that child's consciousness.
Yeah, and I truly hope that nothing will affect them, and I'll just have to have really tough conversations.
Mm-hmm. Super interesting times.
Yeah.
What's your biggest regret in your life? Doesn't have to be regarding this.
That's a good question. I don't know if I really have any regrets.
You don't regret doing the OnlyFans? I'm sure there's parts of you that do, but in general, it seems like the upside is so strong.
Yeah, it is. I mean, sometimes I think like, well, what am I going to do once this is over? And so
I just interviewed a 72-year-old woman who's making almost as much money as you doing OnlyFans.
Wow.
72.
Okay. So there's hope.
There's hope. I don't know if there's going to be 1,000 72-year-olds, but you never know.
Yeah, I do. I think that might be my biggest worry is, eventually I'm going to get older. What is my plan after this? So I've been looking into like investment properties and things like that. But for now, I'm just riding the wave, I guess.
Yeah, technology and pornography is a jar of ants that we're never going to get the lid back.
Very true.
We're never going to put it all back in. Mm-hmm. Emotionally, what do you go through? What are the ups and downs of this?
I think I had the biggest issue when my name and my face were like in all of the news articles all over the world. That was really hard for me. I had a little breakdown.
Yeah, this was a big news story for a while, right?
Yeah. So I definitely cried, had a lot of anxiety. My husband was a really big support during that time. He kind of talked me down off the ledge, and now I'm making like peace with it, I guess.
Well, the money you're making, you could, if you saved it up for the next 5-10 years, you won't have to work again.
Yeah. That's the hope, I guess. But I do like having purpose beyond this. I feel like I'm a better person mentally and physically when I have something to go do, when I can get myself out of the house. So I'm also excited about, having a farm, and I'm going to start a garden and have chickens and stuff like that. So that will, help with that purpose piece and give me something to do to just get out of the house.
And your husband's working again, or he doesn't have to now? Or he helps you with this?
So he originally actually got fired as well from his job.
For the same reason?
Yes. They just thought that his mind could be too distracted with everything going on in the media, and he was basically a liability. So they let him go. He did file a grievance, and he won because he's in the union, so they fought for him. And he went back to work after the winter.
Oh, so he went back to his job?
Yeah.
How does it affect your relationships with family and friends and things like that?
I think at first it was hard. We did receive a lot of judgment, especially just being from a rural area.
That makes it harder, right?
Yeah.
That's a big part of the story is where you're located.
It's very conservative.
You could move to Miami and this wouldn't even be an issue.
Yeah, I don't think it ever would have even been a story, maybe. I don't know. But we have some family members who are very conservative, and I think we did receive a lot of judgment, and it's gotten better now. But I don't think those relationships will ever be the same.
What would you say is the most important thing you've learned in all of this?
I would just say that it's helped open my eyes to not be so judgmental. I've received, honestly, more positivity than negativity, which was very surprising to me. I did think that it was going to be a lot worse, that people would be a lot more hateful. But it's just, I think the world is changing and people are not judging as much. And so I think that's kind of helped me as well.
We're definitely going through some big changes.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right. Brianna, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you.
I wish you lots of luck.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you.